was a little...
But you love to wait till the last second to do things. I don't. They're like, oh, we've got 5 more minutes. I can sleep 5 more minutes. Some arrows up here. I'm sure.
There are the little trains. Alright, well, there was a little local coffee shop up here. I forget exactly where it was. Well, there's a Starbucks 0.4 mile.
It doesn't matter to me. Absolutely can't even drink out of this goddamn.
Well, for convenience sake.
Ukrainian opposition
John, you really need to focus on what you're doing here.
Yeah, I am.
No, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. People crossing the road.
Ukrainian Russians. You're listening to News Hour. This is News Hour from the BBC World Service with James Morrison. Back to our main story now. Events in Egypt and the reaction to them from the United States President Barack Obama. The Navy's first intervention, condemning the violence and promising action.
Well, we want to sustain our relationship with Egypt. Our traditional cooperation cannot continue as usual. Civilians will be
I don't think we've ever gone across it this time of day. We're on the Tylersville Road eastbound to Mason. The Lindner Family
Yep, and I
Tennis Center.
suggest here going across Tylersville Road.
As my national security team to assess the implications of the actions taken by the other government and further steps that we may take as necessary with respect to the U.S.-Egyptian relationship.
So the United States cancelling the military exercise.
Then we turn up here somewhere.
Planning to cut its annual military aid budget of $1.3
They show doing Tylersville Road over here to Reading and sort of veering left
So does it mean that the United States is losing
on Reading.
leverage? Shabin Talami is senior fellow of the Saban Center for Middle East Policy at the Brookings Institution.
It'll be Route 42, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Unit asked him whether the
Oh, they've got corn right here in town.
backs on the United States.
Pretty tall corn. Good looking corn.
Ohio likes corn. Corn likes Ohio.
Situation in the economy has been in a place where this is 2011. But that's not really the priority of being there for us to support them at the moment. In particular, they've got about $12 billion coming from the Gulf, and that should be enough to see them through the next 12 months or so. On the other side of the ledger, the US really isn't offering much money at the moment, about $1.3 billion. And so even if the US were to withdraw its cash, and it's not actually even threatening to do that at the moment, but they could get by with money from their friends in the oil-rich Gulf.
Shabin Talami, do you think that this short-term issue translates into a long-term one, or do they still need the United States in the long term?
It's true that in the short term, what they're facing in Egypt is really something akin to a survival game. So for sure, they will do what they think they need to do, even if they have to worsen their ties with the U.S. They take that risk because they understand the U.S. is unlikely to sever relations with them, because that aid that the U.S. provides to them, it gets the U.S. a lot of strategic benefit. But here's the thing that Egypt gets beyond the $1.3 billion. This buys them a strategic relationship that influences their entire
There's one up here.
Yeah. We can remember it's near this big tower.
Oh, that is a big tower.
You
Yep.
turn left here.
Yep.
I'm like, oh yeah.
This one. Hopefully they'll still have the signs up.
Huh?
Hopefully they'll still have the little signs up.
Yeah, you're gonna keep going here, and then it's gonna go right on Kingsmill Road. At least that's what your little triptych says.
Yeah, a little triptych.
Not sure. They know what they're doing, but wags and whiskers. Petrelli's Ristorante, Lounge and Bakery.
Oh, yeah. I think this takes us through downtown Mason.
Yeah, this is downtown Mason. Where you are now is downtown Mason. Is my guess. Yeah, today here. Although this. Oh, it doesn't say. Yeah, ignore her anyway. I don't know where she's trying to go.
Well, I don't have her sit on her road.
Okay.
The Justice Department can see it, know it, decide if they want to challenge it. But there were other things that had to be pre-cleared under the Voting Rights Act, including the moving of a precinct. Small things that can go unnoticed and yet have a major impact on election day for certain types of voters. If suddenly their polling place has been moved to a new location and they have not been fully informed on it, that sort of thing.
So clearly we're going to end up with a good many court challenges.
Absolutely. And another thing I think often gets overlooked is that the Supreme Court did not say this was over, this provision of the Voting Rights Act. They sent it back to Congress. The assumption has been that this Republican House of Representatives is too conservative to ever consider redoing that portion of the Voting Rights Act in a way that would be acceptable to the court. But I think civil rights groups that I speak to really believe there's an opening for them to put a lot of pressure on Republicans, because regardless of the sort of policy debate over whether these laws are or are not acceptable, it looks bad for Republicans who are trying to fight this image that they are a party of old white men that is opposed to minorities and to a sort of open debate about ideas.
I think Molly's right that Democrats see an opportunity to use this as a political weapon, but I don't know anyone, Democrat, Republican, outsider, who actually thinks Congress will pass something that could put this back into place in the Voting Rights Act.
I would agree with that. I believe that there are Republican members of the House who are concerned about this, who are looking at legislation and would like to promote it. But in this Congress, we'll be lucky if we avoid shutting the government down. For crying out loud, this is not going to command a lot of attention.
They are, however, sensitive to embarrassment. They did renew the Violence Against Women Act when that started to look bad.
Sure, but look at how much effort the Republican Party put into appealing to Latino voters, and yet
Exactly.
a comprehensive immigration bill seems very unlikely to pass.
Right. So, let's move on to the NSA. The Washington Post reported today that the NSA has repeatedly broken rules. What kinds?
Well, they have violated the privacy of some citizens in more than 2,000 cases, according to a 2012 audit that was among the documents that
We're
Edward
almost there, dear.
released earlier in the summer. And the Post
Big day of action.
due diligence on it, did their reporting, and they did the story today that released that particular audit. It's very difficult, given how encrypted all of this information is, to really get a sense of what did they do. But there's been the talk that this court that oversees them is lenient. People have kind of characterized it in that way, that it's kind of a go-along court. Well, even that court found in one case that they have violated the Fourth Amendment rights of a large number of people and halted a particular program. Now, some of the violations are somewhat technical. They're due to typos. Many of them involve apparently cases where they were trying to record a cell phone, and that cell phone came into the United States. And so, overseas you don't need a warrant. As soon as they come into the U.S., you do need a warrant. So those kinds of violations are among them.
One of the things that's striking about this report is that every time the president defends these programs, he says, look, there is congressional oversight and there is judicial oversight. And in these reports, you have the judge in charge of this, the head of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Corps, saying, we really have no ability to test the government's claims. We have to take them at their word.
So they have proved them.
Right, and then also in this report, you have the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Dianne Feinstein, saying this from the Washington Post was the first she had seen of it. They talk about how the senators and members of Congress are able to view these documents only in private. They can't take notes, and only 10% of elected officials have staffers with the security clearances high enough to let them view and advise their bosses on what's going on. So when the president talks about the oversight from members of Congress and the oversight from the judges, this report suggests that it really is not oversight in the way that we think of it.
And this is exactly what sort of drives the civil libertarians crazy, right? Is that the government's whole defense of this program has mostly amounted to saying, well, trust us. We are doing this, especially President Obama, who seems very sensitive to the criticism that he basically continued a lot of the intrusive policies of George W. Bush that he once criticized. And his response to that has sort of been to say, no, we're not doing it in a bad way like they did. We're doing it in a good way, and you can trust us because we're better than them. And so I think reports like this really inflame the sort of odd coalition of the sort of civil liberties right and civil liberties left, who see this as just a complete murky and unaccountable.
Well, there are people out here golfing. I guess they're not tennis fans.
No.
People out here golfing all the day, though.
But these ones are expensive.
I bet they are. Well, if you were a tennis fan, these would be great. And you could walk to the tournament.
Yeah. Well, I did see some people walking.
I bet we'll be a lot closer today.
Yeah, I hope so. Get our tickets out. I am getting my gum out.
Alright, wait. Okay, they used to have a free order of play thing.
I don't know if they do anymore. I saw something order of play costing $1.
I thought that was a draw sheet.
Oh, the card in the draw sheet.
I think they will have the order of play posted.
So we only have 11 and 7?
Well, what do you mean?
Oh yeah, I guess it'd be day and night.
Well, I have sessions 12 and 13 today.
Yeah.
So make sure you get both.
No.
No, there'll be 2 sessions today.
Yeah.
Do you have the 13?
I have 12 and 13, yes, I said.
Okay.
Jesus.
Okay.
I said I had daytime and nighttime.
Okay.
But I didn't look at the other number.
Okay.
I wasn't paying attention to the session number. I was paying attention to... I was thinking for some reason there was a separate afternoon ticket, but I guess not.
No, there's not. Should be letting people.
Oh, I don't know if we're going to be that much closer.
I'll say. You think we'd be closer?
Wait, what? She doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah.
Orange flag ahead of you. She's...
Well, I think we will be closer.
Oh, perfect.
Wow, that's the closest we've ever been.
Yeah. Thank you.